American half pound of 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles, with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Steve McGowan.
And I'm Adrienne Meddock, and we're in a band, the Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. But we're record collectors and passionate especially about the expression of pop music perfection that is the single recording. Exploring the mystery of what makes for a great single is what propelled us to begin this podcast. And this is episode
061.
061.
We're entering our twilight years on the numbers here.
We're flipping over the odometer again. We tend to think about these in groups of 30, so this is our beginning of the third.
And we have a great band to talk about today, and the single that never was.
Right. I mean, we'll talk about a single that they actually released, but really the single that never was that maybe would have rewritten history.
That's right. The band we're talking about today is a band that came from Connecticut, and they cut their teeth in Boston. They were called Christmas. This was a band from the 80s that came up in the Boston scene.
And one of my favorites in that they were, I love trios, and this was a trio, and it was a super power trio.
Yes. And we have some stories about them, and we will tell you them as we get into it. The first record that Christmas ever released was called In Excelsior Dayglow, and it was on the Big Time label, which was an Australian label that RCA Records decided was going to be their indie imprint.
Right.
And
there were lots of bands that were college radio,
right.
early days of indie,
right.
that were notable, and Christmas was one of them.
Yeah, they also had Dump Truck.
Oh, and, Dump Truck. Oh, we should add Dump Truck to the list.
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't know if they've got a single.
And they had the Dream Syndicate, a lot of bands like that, and a lot of bands from Australia like the Go-Betweens and the Hoodoo Gurus, who I think we'll talk about in another episode. But their first record came out, and they had a song called Big Plans. And you and I were both knocked out by this song. And we saw it on MTV.
Yeah, it had a great video that got heavy rotation on like 120 minutes,
yes.
which was the college radio indie record overnight show on, wasn't it on Sunday nights?
Yes.
Yeah, so this was a big deal. They had a great song, a great video, and no
looked like they were going to go somewhere,
right?
yeah. This was 1986.
Right.
And we kept watching this amazing video and this great song, this really quirky, interesting song. And apparently Big Time Records was stretched to the max and couldn't do the promotion.
So they had the support. They got the video to the right people. So they did some things right as far as promotion went. But really having a single that people could have grabbed a hold of, because singles were, in 1986, you've got sort of early, inklings of not everybody had a CD back in 86.
Right.
And in fact, we released a vinyl single ourselves in 86.
Exactly.
So they were still a thing. And, that was basically like a business card.
It was the end of the vinyl era. It was coming to an end for that about 10 years there where people just didn't really make vinyl.
Right. But for Christmas, having a single available of Big Plans probably... that would have given a toehold, I think, for them in a way that having In Excelsior an Excelsior Day Glow.
Right.
The commitment of getting the 12-inch. It's not as easy to pick up and carry and take home and try.
Right. So should we go ahead and play the song?
Oh yeah, I don't want to stand between you and this great song.
This is a great song. We'll talk more about the band after we listen to it, but it is from 1986 on Big Time Records on the album In Excelsior Day Glow. The band is Christmas, and the song is called Big Plans. So there they are, Christmas and Big Plans. What a weird little single.
The single that never was. What a weird song.
Weird song,
but
not technically a single.
It's it's just meaty, and I just love that song.
Yes, it's really something. And they were, just as Adrienne said before, just a three-piece band. Michael Cudahy was the leader, the guitar player, and the singer, and I believe the principal songwriter. And his partner, Liz Cox, is the powerhouse drummer.
Right,
she was
right.
a great drummer. Even though she sounds like a little girl when she's singing, she's
got that sort of clarion clear voice.
She
but
kicked those drums. Yeah,
kicked the hell out of the drums.
Right. And then the first bass player they had was Dan Salzman. When we booked Christmas, when we were booking bands, and in the later period of our booking career, when we were booking at a club called the Manor in Greenville,
which was kind of a disco.
Yeah, but it had a nice stage.
It had a great stage. It was a huge club.
And Christmas came and played, and they were amazing. I think the bass player then was Michael's brother, Nicholas. And the thing I remember about Christmas was somebody yelled for them to do an AC/DC song, and Michael was all over that. He said they could play the whole side one of Back in Black, and he began to do it. They did 2 or 3 songs, and it was note for note.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they were not to be messed with.
So don't be careful what you wish for. They really rocked out. They were nice folks. Another thing I remember was they had gotten on the Husker Du tour. This was the very end of Husker Du when they were doing the Warehouse Song and Stories tour. And we talked about that in our episode about 8 Miles High.
Right.
I think that's number 5.
No, I think it's later. 5.
Okay. Well,
we don't remember
one of the
all our
first 10.
numbers.
One of the first 10.
Yeah.
And Husker Du was doing Warehouse Songs and Stories, and Christmas had been picked to open. It was a plum.
Right.
A plum.
In the world of indie rock,
Right.
Because Warehouse was a major label, right?
Yes, it was on Warner Brothers.
I was thinking Warner's.
And they were telling us, we were asking them about them being vegetarian, and they said, yeah, well, they're vegetarian, but they get these gigantic veggie pizzas every night. Their eyes got really big when they were talking about the pizzas.
Check out my pizzas.
Yes, and they said that that poor Bob Mould and Grant Hart were so deaf from playing so loud that they overdubbed all the cymbals on Warehouse Songs and Stories on a double record because they just couldn't hear them, so they overdubbed them again. So that was a couple of little nuggets we got from Christmas.
Right, but they were just great, creative,
Yes,
crack band,
and just weird in a good way.
Yes, yes.
It didn't sound exactly like anything that was going on then,
Right,
or even now. Really, I mean.
And even though the Big Plans would have been a great single, they still got enough notice that they were
Right.
picked up off of
Big Time
onto IRS,
Right.
which was the place to be in the mid '80s if you were
Right.
in that
Yeah, it was REM's
particular
label.
wheelhouse, right? Because
Right.
the REM was sort of
Right.
their standard bearer at that time.
So now we'll talk about the second record, which is Ultra Prophets of the Psychic Revolution. Also an excellent record, a little bit more produced. It was on IRS Records, and they did have a single for this one and a video. The single is called Stupid Kids, and I do remember this one being also on MTV quite a bit. Great single, and we're going to go ahead and play it right now.
Right.
Let you hear it.
So this is the single that was. We started
Right.
with the single that wasn't.
That
and here's
should have
the single
been,
and this is the single that actually they did release.
And so here's Christmas from 1989 and Ultra Prophets of the Psychic Revolution. It's just these stupid kids.
What a party! What a party! It seems like everybody came before they went. lost in Meddock with all those stupid kids.
All right, that was Christmas with Stupid Kids. Again, another great song. This was on the turntable quite a bit, this record, I remember.
Right.
We played this one a lot, and there's a song on this record called Richard Nixon Sees You that we used to listen to quite a bit as well.
Backyard baby barbecues.
Yeah.
It's accurate without being revisionist history about sort of the abject horror of Richard Nixon. I think it really captures it in an absurdist way.
Yeah, and this was a great record, and we loved Stupid Kids. It got a lot of play. The single, we're not going to play the B-side, but they did this kind of bizarre cover of the disco song, You Can Ring My Bell, with Liz singing.
Yeah, and which, Liz was this powerhouse drummer in Christmas, and sort of the next version of Christmas, but sort of Michael and Liz evolved into the neo lounge group Combustible Edison.
Yeah, they weren't really neo lounge; they were a lounge group.
Yeah. Well, neo in the sense that hearkening back to the lounge music of the 60s.
And when we say lounge, we mean artists like Esquivel or Henry Mancini, or really like kind of kitschy sounding music.
For us, it would have been like parents' generation music, the sort of things that people put on for cocktail parties.
Right.
The stuff playing in the background. I saw a little bit of Pink Panther recently, and the sort of music that would be playing in like the Swiss Chalet in the background for the romantic scenes.
Yes.
And
come up and see my etchings.
Yeah, exactly. Playboy sort of, Playboy After Hours type music.
Combustible Edison was around for a while. They were on Sub Pop. They took monikers. I think Michael was the Millionaire. Right. And Liz was
Lady Benkett.
Lily Benkett.
Lily Benkett.
Yes.
Lady Lily Benkett. I'm giving her an extra sobriquet.
They did have, they went through another bass player. Michael's brother quit playing bass for Christmas, Nicholas, and he was replaced by James McNew, who played with them for a while, but then joined Yo La Tengo.
Yeah.
And James convinced Matador Records, the Yo La Tengo's label, to release the final Christmas record called Vortex. They had already broken up, but they'd done this third record, and that was kind of nice of him to do that, and they put that record out. It's also a good record. Got almost no... I mean, it's the story of Christmas. They had a lot of bad things happen to them that shouldn't have happened, We were talking about Michael Cudahy apparently was on Jeopardy.
Right.
And
a contestant.
He won the most money without winning the game. So you don't get to keep the money if you don't win the game.
So the highest scoring second place. And of course, second place is like the turtle wax.
Right. So that's kind of
$2,000 or whatever, $1,000.
Kind of the whole story of Christmas right there encapsulated, just second place.
Incredible excellence. Very at the very top echelon of performance, but just missing the boat a little bit.
Right. So we've talked about Christmas, we talked about the single that never was, and we've talked about the single that was, and they're both excellent songs. Right. So can you hear anybody covering Big Plans or Stupid Kids?
I was thinking about having a trio, and with the connection to Yo La Tengo, let's let Yo La Tango give it a try.
That's a good one. Yeah. They've got the female voice as well, and they can do it. I had two possibilities I was thinking. One was Let's Active.
Oh, yeah.
Would definitely
like original Let's Active with the trio.
With Sarah killing it on the drums. And the other one I was thinking about Stupid Kids, to tie back to our previous podcasts, maybe Lene Lovich.
Oh yeah.
doing Stupid Kids.
Yeah.
That could be
That
something.
would be really. That would be something.
Yes. So we've got the people we think might cover it. Do we have some recommendations this week?
I think we have a recommendation. It's kind of. Well, I'm going to start with a general recommendation, then I'll let you take the example, which is back in the days before on-demand streaming and entertainment.
Right.
You used to depend on really happenstance and whatever was beamed into your home, what you caught on the radio, what you caught on TV.
Whatever came across the transom.
Yeah, right. Whatever was tossed at you. And most things you tossed back. But I've had this experience twice with a show called The Detour.
Yes.
Where, you know, the habit that broadcast TV has of doing a marathon before a new season premieres. Mm-hmm. And I caught the first season of The Detour preparing for the second season. I ended up not sticking with this
right. You didn't see the second season.
The happenstance of just like being in the right place to be able to sit and veg out to, you know, a partial marathon of a series. And we had that experience recently as we were preparing for this batch of podcasts of just stumbling across. We watched the third series, right? The third series. So we've got the second series to catch up on, and maybe whatever I missed in the first. But
it's a bizarre show.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I guess it's a double recommendation. The first recommendation is Serendipity is a great programmer.
Yes.
And yours is more the specific of what serendipitously appeared.
So we watched this show called The Detour, and it's on TBS. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And apparently it's produced by Samantha Bee.
Right, because Samantha Bee and Jason Jones,
her husband,
of The Daily Show, right?
Okay.
When they left The Daily Show, they got a production deal at TBS, who has tried to brand itself as, what is it, very funny. I don't even know if they're using that.
I mean, this is not a news show of any kind. It's it's a comedy or whatever it is. It's bizarre.
Right, so you know, they've got this sitcom that Jason stars in, and then the Samantha Bee, weekly talk show that's her series.
Mm-hmm. But this show is basically about a family that, for one reason or another, is on the run and running from the authorities.
Yeah,
and you don't get when you start in the third. Yeah, when you get started in the third season, you don't get all the details, but you don't really need them because you know they're running. And who is that woman that plays the police woman that's chasing them?
Benanti, right?
She's
who plays,
on.
The Broadway star Laura Benanti, who also plays Melania Trump.
Yes, is great at that.
on
Colbert, right? Yes, And it's just a bizarre show. It's got its whole own universe. It's got its own lexicon. They're always talking about let's get some, and it really caught me. It caught me off guard, and it kind of convinced me.
Right.
And I was like, I want to see another one. And I'm not usually like that. So I think we'll both recommend The Detour on TBS.
Yes, and more than that, just. Don't forget there's still broadcast TV.
Yes.
And
they're trying really hard to make it good too. And
happy accidents are leave yourself open to happy accidents.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that's our podcast for today, number 061, the Boston band via Connecticut Christmas, kind of a ill-fated band that made some great music. Well,
I don't know if we'd say ill-fated as much as that they did not achieve the success that they were absolutely entitled to,
that we thought they should have, especially
based on their first tier quality.
Right. So the single that wasn't is called Big Plans, and the single that was is called Stupid Kids. It's great music. You should look it out. Look out for it, and Christmas.
Seek it out.
It's a good thing.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas.
We will talk to you again soon. As you are holiday celebrating. Thank you again for listening with us, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Soon, y'all.
Bye.
To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records.
Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.
I was